Some people are not avoided because they are too little. They are avoided because they are too whole, and wholeness to a fractured person is the most intimidating thing in the world. It seems backwards. It feels backwards. Every instinct you have, every story you have told yourself in the long, quiet hours of wondering why they keep their distance, points toward the same conclusion, that the staying away means something is wrong with you. That if you were more palatable, less intense, easier to be around, they would close the gap. That their distance is a verdict, a measurement, a quiet but consistent confirmation that you fall short of whatever invisible standard determines who gets to be chosen and who gets to be kept at arm's length. But the architecture of avoidant psychology does not work that way. And once you understand how it actually works, once you see the internal mechanics of why the avoidant retreats from specific people and not others, the story changes completely. Not into something comfortable, but into something true. The avoidant does not stay away from people who do not matter to them. This is the central paradox that sits at the heart of their relational world, and it is the one most people on the outside never fully grasp because the behavior communicates the opposite. Distance, in the conventional emotional vocabulary, signals disinterest. It signals that someone has been assessed and found insufficient. But in the avoidance internal language, distance is not a response to insufficiency. It is a response to significance. The greater the significance of a person to the avoidant, the more elaborate, the more defended, the more seemingly impenetrable the distance they construct around them. Ordinary people do not threaten the avoidance equilibrium. They can engage, can be warm, can allow a version of closeness that feels manageable because the stakes are low. When someone does not truly matter, the avoidance attachment system remains relatively calm. There is nothing to protect against because there is nothing profound enough to lose. But when someone matters, when someone registers in the avoidance interior world as genuinely significant as the kind of person who could actually reach them, every alarm the avoidance nervous system possesses begins to sound simultaneously. And the response to that alarm is distance, swift, thorough, sometimes bewildering in its totality. What makes someone significant to the avoidant in this particular way? It is not superficial. It is not about appearance or achievement or any of the external currencies that determine social value. It is something far more specific and far more threatening to a person who has built their entire identity around not needing anyone. It is the sense, felt before it is understood, registered in the body before it reaches the mind, that this person could actually know them, that the usual performances would not work, that the carefully maintained version of themselves they present to the world would not survive sustained contact with this particular individual's perception. You, to the avoidant, are someone who sees, not just looks, sees. There is a quality to your presence, a depth to the way you engage with people and with the world that the avoidant recognizes immediately as something their defenses were not designed to withstand indefinitely. You are the person around whom pretending would be exhausting and eventually impossible. And for someone whose psychological survival has depended on a certain degree of pretending about how much they feel, how much they need, how profoundly they long for the very connection they keep refusing. The presence of someone who would make that pretending collapse is not a comfort. It is a crisis. There is also something the avoidant perceives in you that produces a specific, rarely articulated response, a sense of your completeness. You are not obviously waiting to be filled by them. You are not arriving into the dynamic with a visible need for their validation to make you whole. You have an interior life that is clearly, palpably yours, a selfhood that exists independently of their attention, their approval, their decision about whether to let you in. And this completeness, which in any psychologically healthy dynamic would be precisely what makes a person a good partner, is to the avoidant a source of profound inadequacy, because they are not complete in this way. Behind the self-sufficiency they perform, behind the careful architecture of not needing, there is a person who is deeply, privately fragmented, who does not have the same easy relationship with their own interior world that you appear to have with yours. And your wholeness does not inspire them, not initially, not when fear is louder than admiration. It indicts them. It makes visible, by contrast, everything they have been unable to build in themselves. And standing next to someone whose wholeness illuminates your own fractures is one of the most threatening experiences available to a human being who has spent years pretending those fractures do not exist. So they stay away, not because you are too little, because you are too much of everything they secretly want to be and are terrified of wanting. Too present, too real, too capable of receiving and giving love in a way that would require them to finally, irrevocably lay down the armor they have been wearing so long they have almost forgotten it is not skin. The distance is not rejection. It is the most backwards, most self-defeating form of reverence. It is the avoidant standing at the edge of something real and choosing the familiar ache of absence over the unbearable risk of presence. They think you are the special one. They have thought so from the beginning, from the first moment you registered in them as someone different, someone whose presence rearranged something in their interior world that they had kept carefully, exhaustingly still. They stay away because you matter. They stay away because you are the one. And the tragedy, quiet, private, entirely of their own making, is that knowing someone is the one and having the courage to stay are two entirely different things. One lives in feeling. The other requires everything they have not yet learned to give.